Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk News. I'm Luke Owen and this is my review of AEW WrestleDream in about as long as this video takes, I guess. Probably about 10 or so minutes, maybe just slightly over 10 minutes because, well, there's a lot to unpack. Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland had an AEW Match of the Year contender. Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. had an overall Match of the Year contender, and Edge debuted for All Elite Wrestling. At least I think it's Edge. I can't quite see him through all that smoke. It's like Rob Van Dam was producing this segment. The pre-show hilariously and perhaps unnecessarily had 4 matches and 18 wrestlers on it. The team of Satoshi Kojima, Keith Lee, Athena and Billy Starks beat Shane Taylor Promotions, Mercedes Martinez and Diamante. Athena's act is too good to be restricted to just Ring of Honor. Claudio Castagnoli beat Josh Barnett in the best match of the 0 Hour. Luchasaurus beat Nick Wayne, and the Acclaimed retained their trios titles over the mighty Don't Kneel, with Max Caster making a reference to Shane Haste being Slapjack in Retribution. That's Slapjack, who, checks notes, was made famous by his incredible main event rivalry with Tucker on the Monday Night War over on Parts Unknown. The real ones get that reference. But the show kicked off proper with MJF defending the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships in a 2-on-1 handicap match against the Righteous. The crowd never really bought into Vincent and Dutch winning the belts, but were fantastically into all of Max's gimmicks. He promised the crowd that he would body slam Dutch and shove Vincent's dreadlocks up Dutch's bum, and achieved both of those things, finally hitting the Heat Seeker for the win. Max put his feet on the ropes with that all-important leverage in a fun opener. This was missing the Adam Cole dynamic, but the crowd were a rather suitable replacement tag partner. Eddie Kingston retained the ROH and Strong Openweight Championships over Katsuyori Shibata in a great little 11-minute match, which felt like a thank you dream match for Eddie from Tony Khan after re-signing for another 4 years. Crowd were again hot for this one and particularly enjoyed the fighting spirit, strong style aspect. Julia Hart is perhaps the most improved wrestler of all of 2023, certainly in AEW, and that was on display in a superb TBS championship match against Chris Statlander. It even got a "This is awesome" chant from the Seattle crowd, who popped big when Hart teased and hit the moonsault, which really shows you A, how much of a hardcore crowd this was, and B, the power of Twitter to get people and moves over, as Hart's moonsault was a big talking point over the weekend. Statlander powered out of the End of Heartache to hit a Tombstone and Sunday Night Fever for the win. A fantastic match. In our first, that probably could have been on Dynamite or Collision match of the night, the Young Bucks beat the Lucha Bros, the Guns, and Orange Cassidy and Hook to earn the #1 contendership to the AEW tag titles. This was a pretty surprising win considering that Hook and Cassidy were going in with all of the momentum of a Franken team, and we just sort of did the third in a trilogy of matches between Bucks and FTR at All In, and it seems quite soon to be going back to that. But there was that angle at All Out where the Bucks refused to shake hands with FTR. So that sort of did foreshadow this win, and I think that says a lot about AEW's lack of follow-up on some of their stories on TV. But speaking of stories playing out well on TV, Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland tore the house down in their highly anticipated clash, which really put a huge amount of momentum behind Swerve. The Seattle crowd was so hot for Strickland, even chanting "Defy Adam," the name of the local promotion he wrestled for, and they booed "Forever Babyface Hangman Adam Page." And because these two are exceptionally smart, Page worked heel in the match, but was never a heel, and Swerve worked as the babyface without ever turning face. The two went to war with each other, but the match kicked into a 5th gear when Swerve broke the arm of Page, giving him the Swerve stomp on the apron while he was being checked on by the doctor, and hitting a 450 splash to the now injured arm. It meant that Page's biggest arsenal, the buckshot lariat, was more or less neutralized. He finally hit the move but could not capitalize, and Prince Nana put Swerve's foot on the ropes for a great near fall. Page went for it again while the ref was distracted, ejecting Nana, but Swerve cracked Hanger with the crown for another amazing near fall. It took 2 house calls and a JML driver to put Page away. Honestly, an incredible match, and one that should be the first step in a long road for Big Push Swerve. I can see him being the Winter is Coming challenger to MJF's world title. Ricky Starks beat Wheeler Yuta in the other, probably could have been on Dynamite, that match, which really was used as a backdrop to set up Starks versus Mox for when John is back and healthy. You see, Moxley was on commentary and remained there for the next match, which was easily the match of the night and will likely get a lot of nominations for Match of the Year. Speaking of end of year awards, here's a fun fact for you. In the Wrestling Observer, the Best Technical Wrestler Award is called the Bryan Danielson Award. It's called that because Danielson first won it in 2005 and went unbeaten until 2013. And the man to beat him for it? Zack Sabre Jr. He first won it in 2014, then won it again in 2015, and then again in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. The man who finally dethroned that incredible 7-year run? Bryan Danielson. So, as you can imagine, Dave Meltzer rather enjoyed this match, and he's not alone because, and I'm going to apologize to the editor for a bit of extra editing work here because you're going to have to censor my potty mouth, but I f***ing loved this match. It was put over perfectly from the outset by Mox. Zack Sabre Jr. plans out combinations and executes them. He'll start at your ankle, then work his way up to your wrist, exactly as he planned. Bryan Danielson, on the other hand, is more reactive. He has things plotted out, but he can change and pivot when he needs to if it isn't working out. But sometimes that can backfire. For example, Danielson isn't using his right arm at the moment because that's the arm he hurt in the Okada match at Forbidden Door. So he was giving Zack some uppercuts with his left arm, which were less effective. So Zack baited him into using his right arm because of fighting spirit and such, and Danielson reacted in doing so, which Zack planned for and took advantage of. He then targeted that arm for the majority of the match, which was a brilliant technical display. The Seattle crowd gave this the reception it deserved. Huge pops for the near falls and polite applause for the technical wrestling on display. It was such a good technical display that at one point, Nigel McGuinness and Jon Moxley got out of their seats from commentary so they could see a submission a little bit closer. Finally, Danielson hit 2 knee pluses for the win, and McGuinness pointed out that Danielson had to use a strike to put Zack down. So ZSJ is still the best technical wrestler on the planet. Look, this won't be for everyone. I get that. If anything, the people who are going to enjoy this match the most are me, Ollie Davis, Dave Meltzer, and Kate Elizabeth from Fightful. But for me, this was pure magic, and I hope we get to see more of it. The same sadly cannot be said for the trios match of Chris Jericho and the Golden Lovers taking on the Don Callis family. The action was good and frantic, but it wasn't as good as the sum of its parts. Like, this match featured Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Konosuke Takeshita, and Will freaking Ospreay. Sammy Guevara was also there. Omega and Ospreay have shown time and time again why they are the best wrestlers on the planet. Jericho can still bust out main event level quality, and Takeshita, well, Takeshita's just incredible. And while Ibushi has lost somewhat of a step in his AEW run, he still has that Ibushi aura around him. And while his character never really clicks, Sammy is an exceptionally crisp talent. So why was this only a 3.5-star match? Honestly, I don't know, and it was a bit messy in parts, I guess, but the focus was all around Jericho and Sammy when all of the build has been focused on Callis and Kenny for the past 6 months. Callis hit Jericho with the bat, and Sammy pinned him. FTR retained the AEW Tag Team Championships against Aussie Open in what should have felt like a dream rematch, but Fletcher and Davis haven't been given enough momentum on TV to make the crowd think that they were going to walk away with the titles. The hype for this match worked if you saw Royal Quest last year, but if you didn't, then this was sort of the same level of anticipation of MJF and the Righteous. The match was very, very good, do not get me wrong, but it wasn't a patch on last year. The crowd gave it a half-hearted, "This is awesome," and FTR won with a Super Shatter Machine. Which brings us to our main event of Christian Cage defending the TNT Championship against local boy Darby Allin, who also got the 5 chance, in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Allin got the first fall by hooking Cage's turtleneck over his face, making him look like Cornholio in search of TP for his bunghole, and the second fall was all built around Nick Wayne's mum at ringside. She threw a drink in the face of an advancing Cage, which led to a series of great near-fall moments with the coffin drop, but in the end, Cage slammed Darby into the step bit of the steel steps from the ring apron to get a count-out win. One word for that spot. Ow. The final fall saw Christian take apart the ring to expose the boards and did a frog splash onto Darby while he was on the stretcher. Allen then took a brutal unpretty on the boards for an amazing near fall, and the two exchanged Sting-based moves until Cage took out the referee with a spear. Nick Wayne came down to stop Christian using the TNT Championship, but then turned heel by cracking his mentor Darby Allin in a shocking, truly shocking moment. Cage covered and retained the championship. It was an awesome match with an incredible finish, but hang on a tick, there's 10 minutes left of this show, so we're not done here. Sting came out for the save, but Luchasaurus also made his presence known, and the numbers were too much. Cage set up for the concerto, but the lights went out, and Edge, now Adam Copeland, made his debut for All Elite Wrestling. Remember when Cody Rhodes returned to WWE at Mania last year, and it was so weird seeing AEW Cody, and it was AEW Cody with the same entrance music, the same pyro, the same gear, the same, well, everything he had in AEW. It's like, remember how weird it was seeing AEW Cody in WWE? Well, this was WWE Edge in AEW, and it was just as weird. Same music, same entrance, same pyro, same everything. A proper Control-C, Control-V job. He's even called the Rated R Superstar because WWE didn't renew the copyrighted term after it expired in 2020. Edge came out to a monster pop, teased joining the Christian Coalition, but cracked them with chairs and took out Luchasaurus and Nick with spears. He shook hands with Sting and Darby and has his eyes set on Christian's TNT Championship. An all-timer moment for the company. It was so awesome that I nearly didn't spot this Support WrestleTalk sign in the crowd. Shout out to that person, by the way, you rule. And this show ruled. Even with two skippable matches, there was a huge amount to enjoy about them. Every match either delivered or over-delivered, and it had two Match of the Year contenders and an awesome debut. AEW WrestleDream is easily 5 out of 5. But there's more pay-per-view action coming this weekend with WWE's Fastlane, and Pete Quinnell counted out some fantasy pictures for what could happen. Go and check that out while I re-watch Edge's AEW debut with British wrestling legend Kendo Nagasaki. You think you know him, huh? What do you mean you don't know him? What do you mean you don't know who Edge is? Sorry, Adam Copeland. Well, I'd understand if you didn't know who Adam Copeland was. You know Edge, right? No, that's from U2. What are you talking about? It's Edge! What do you mean you don't know what AEW is?